Hi, everyone. Okay, so you've written your book. It's all ready to go. Now what? You want to publish it, right? Well, my guest, who's been on the show before, is going to walk you through how to publish your own book. Ladies and gentlemen, who am I talking to? Richard Irving. Welcome back, Richard.
Hi, Nancy. It's good to see you.
Sorry, I'm a little flustered because I messed the time up, but nice to see
No problem.
you. Nice to see you.
We did two other sessions. The first one was about my book, Backwoods Boy. The second was how to get out your own story, write your own story. So in this third segment, I'm going to talk about publishing our own stories and some paths and pitfalls. And as many of you know, there's traditional publishers, and most of those are the big ones you'd think about, like Simon and Schuster or Penguin and HarperCollins, all those kind of places, plus some of the smaller ones, Houghton Mifflin, Harcourt, Scholastic, Wiley. And they're the traditional publishing routes. You have a formal contract. They may give you an advance. Problem is, you often nowadays have to work through an agent, which means you have to get an agent. So some of these publishers will only deal with people who have agents, and some of them have a very narrow window for people who don't have agents. Good thing is they assume all the risks. So no risk to you. They publish it, they put it out. You're going to have a full manuscript if you're a fiction author, and at least a detailed outline and a sample chapter if it's nonfiction. And they do all the work. I've had a book published through Wiley. It was great. I didn't have to do anything other than write it. They're getting more difficult to access. Next level down are a bunch of small presses, and Canada has a very large number of small presses. Don't need an agent. You can contact them directly. You're not likely to get an advance. The royalties will be about the same as for large publishers. So if it's a hardcover book, it's probably on the order of 15%. If it's a trade paperback, it's probably 7.5%, 8%. And on ebooks and audiobooks, usually it's about 25%, but they sell for a lot less, so your take isn't great. If you're an established author, you may be able to negotiate a better royalty. If you're a new author, you won't. But the small presses are often, some of them well-established, and they're quite well-known in Canada. I'm just looking at my notes here, but Dundurn Press, Goose Lane Editions, Turnstone Press, Between the Lines are some of them. And you can get a complete list if you type in Small Press Canada on Google or something, and you can find a list of small presses. Some of them also offer editorial, design work, cover work. They may do some marketing, they may not. And some of these small presses are problematic. I've looked at a bunch of them. Some of them look pretty good, and some of them, they probably sell a few hundred books in their local area, and that's it. They don't offer anything. As an author, what you really want is a press that will also connect you electronically. So it'll put it on Amazon, and it'll put it on Barnes and Noble and Kobo and all these other different forms in ebooks, as well as advertising. And a lot of them don't do that, which kind of bleeds into the next one, which is the hybrid and what used to be called vanity presses. And boy, oh boy, this is a minefield. They range from some very high quality presses. Some of the small presses are in fact hybrid, which do traditional publishing, and for a fee, they'll do high quality editorial and design work, for example, cover design. Some of them, on the other hand, are essentially money-making ventures where they make their money from selling you publishing services, and they don't really do much marketing. So there's a couple. I'm not going to name names, but there was one I approached when I was starting just to find out. So I said, well, I got out a 50,000 word book and it's a memoir, might have some illustrations. What do you think it would cost to publish? Well, it looks like about $10,000. My eyes kind of, whoa, that seems like a lot. And it turns out if you sign with them, you have to use their editorial staff, their cover design staff, their printing staff, their marketing planning and stuff, and that all costs money, and some of it quite a lot. And from the reviews they got, a lot of people complained they didn't get any marketing. So, if you've got an extra 10K laying around and you don't want to be bothered with any of it, they'll take your money. Whether they sell you any books, I don't know. Now, because it is a minefield, what I'm suggesting to people who are thinking of going down some form of self-publishing route is joining either the Writers Union of Canada or there's the Alliance of Independent Authors. I think it's from Britain, but it's in the US and it's in Canada. It costs about $120 a year. I joined for a year, and it gave me access to a lot of their publications. One of their publications is a ranking of these hybrid publishing sites by quality, and like here's ones to avoid, here's ones that are in pretty good standing. Could save you a lot of money and grief down the road. So I kind of recommend joining the Alliance of Independent Authors, briefly at least. And they have a lot of publications. I'll tell you one that I made a list. I have cranked out a list. And one of them was 150 self-publishing questions answered. And so when you're a member, you can download all this free stuff. They have contracts and things that are available. So I found that very useful. The Canadian Writers Union was useful. They have a lot of contacts, and they're tied in with ALI, the Alliance of Independent Publishers, so you can get some of the ALI stuff free from joining the Union of Canadian Writers. You can find all this online. So that's one thing to check out. Be very careful. I also recommend, if you are going to sign a contract with anybody, find yourself an entertainment lawyer to review it. And I'm biased because my brother-in-law is an entertainment lawyer in New York. So he gives me some free advice. But for example, you write a book, you just want to publish it. Well, a lot of the publishers' contracts give the publishers the rights over everything. Well, maybe you don't want them to have the rights over the movie. When they make the movie of your life, you might want to control it. If you're thinking of writing sequels, well, there's some odd little wordings that you need to know about that would give them the right to get someone to write a sequel in your universe that you made up, if it's fiction, but it's not you. So you get nothing from it, although they're using your characters in your work. So that's something you don't want to skimp on. I would definitely hire a lawyer. It's not going to cost you thousands of dollars. It'll probably cost you a few hundred to get somebody to review a contract and make some signatures. But make sure you get an entertainment lawyer. I don't think a contract lawyer is much use to you. So that's the kind of hybrid vanity press. You pay somebody, they do it all. Let's move on to where I had my experience directly, which was do-it-yourself publishing or indie publishing. And that's a very interesting and kind of complicated area, but Few things. First thing you have to do is get yourself an ISBN number, which is an international book number, international standard book number. And you can get them from, if you do a search on ISBN Canada, it'll take you to the Libraries and Archives Canada. You can get one for free. You need one for every type of publication. So hardback has one, your trade paperback will have a different one, and ebook will have a unique one, as will an audiobook. So you have 4 in that case. And I'm working on an audiobook now, so I've got my 4th one. They're free. And I found the turnaround time was great. I thought, it's a government agency, in a week or 2, I got turnaround time the same day, just bang, they came right back to me. So I was very impressed, and the price was right. The other thing that you have to do, you got an ISBN number, that's great. You've got to have a clean proofread document. It'll probably be in MS Word. It might be in other things. There's different formats, and that depends on your printer and to some extent on the distributor. I'll talk about that in a minute. Cover designer. Even if you're doing an ebook, you need a cover designer. Again, don't scrimp. If the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Almost all of us do. When I go to a bookstore and I'm looking through, what do I see? I see the cover and the title. Mm-hmm. If it looks interesting, I might pull it down. If it looks boring, I probably won't. I paid $1,200 for a professional illustrator who does covers, among other things. And I think I got a pretty good deal. I've had a number of people say they like the cover of my book. And it looks professional, which is important if you're going to bookstores. Now, there's a place on the internet called Reedsy, REEDSY.com, Reedsy.com. And what they do is they are kind of a marketplace for professional book people, professional editors and illustrators and cover designers and proofreaders and that stuff. So it's a good place to start looking around for somebody. You might have to translate your PDF or your manuscript into a PDF or some other format. And if you have a lot of illustrations, you may need some professional help to do that, because that can be problematic, particularly with Word. And that leads me to the next little wrinkle here, which is creating an ebook. Ebooks are odd. I used Draft to Digital, which is a professional aggregator. So they will take your manuscript, they will convert it to ebook format, and they will send it out to Amazon Kindle. They'll put it on Kobo. They'll put it on about a dozen different platforms, both as an ebook, and a lot of these platforms have print on demand. So if somebody wants a printed copy, they can order a printed copy. So my book's available through them and almost on every e-platform that you could imagine. The problem is with illustrators or illustrations. The ebooks don't have pages as you and I think of them, because if you think about it, if you use the Kindle, if you change the font, the number of pages can go from 200 pages to 600 pages, depending on the size of the font you're using. So the illustrations have to somehow flow through that text. And based on my own experience, Word doesn't convert really well. So there may have to use some other system. And I actually had my editor, who was conversant with a different system, translated over, and we got something that worked fairly well. So that's, if no illustrations, probably not a big problem. There's other aggregators, Publish Drive and StreetLib. Or if you want to be exclusive, you can go to Amazon's Kindle Direct or KPD Select. And you get unlimited offerings. You can have unlimited offerings on it. It will put your book out, but it is exclusive to Kindle. You can't put it out on other ebook platforms. You can put out any other kind of book you want, audio, print, whatever, but not an ebook. I went with printing my own, so I went to Printing Legacy, and they'll print the books up for you. What you want is a printer that specializes in short run press, because they're in short run means a few hundred. And you want someone that can manage most of their covers in-house, because it's a lot cheaper. If they send it out, it's going to cost you a lot more. So without going into too many details, I will say that the printing Legacy in Scarborough was high quality, gave me good turnaround. They did the trade book in-house. The hardcover, they had to send the hardcover out, so it cost me about double. Then I went to a printer when I was traveling around in St. John, New Brunswick. I saw a printer on the street, wandered in, asked what it cost. They gave me a quote. It was 10 times what I was spending with Printing Legacy. So my advice is check out a few printers. Be careful about what they're doing. So let's assume you've printed up 500 books. How's your time, Nancy? Were you okay?
Yeah, we're okay. Yeah.
Good. Because I'll talk about marketing a little bit. You printed them up. You've got a stack of boxes full of printed books sitting in your back closet or in the trunk of your car. Now you have to market them. Nobody's going to do it for you. And I don't care how good your book is. There's thousands of other books out there screaming for attention. I'm not an expert in marketing, but I can tell you what I did. So the first thing you need to do is use social media. You need to be on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever you can get on. And you need to promote your book. Well, it's not just enough to say you've got your book. You have to talk about it some way. So somebody said, oh, that's kind of interesting. What I did is I did a organized book tour from Ontario through to Halifax last summer. I stopped at 25 communities and visited about 30 or 35 bookstores and showed them my book and talked to them. And then I put everything up on Facebook with pictures of the stores and kind of a little narrative about how things were going. And some people followed that and generated a few sales. Being on your program generated some sales. So connect with people who are doing YouTube videos and things. You got to be prepared to hand out a number of free copies, not just to anybody random on the street, but somebody who may read it and pass it on or tell other people about it. I approached independent bookstores and I approached the chain ones. I did an author table at the Chapters in Moncton. In 2.5 hours, I sold about 17, 18 books, and they sold some after that, and I just actually got an invoice from them. They sold another 18 or 20 over the Christmas period, so they're slowly selling. They're marketing the books, and I will be doing author tables at Chapters Indigo around Ontario. My advice in approaching people shouldn't need this advice, but talking to bookstore owners and others, it seems some people need it, is for God's sake, if you're approaching a bookstore owner, be friendly and polite. Apparently, some authors are going in quite arrogantly as though they're doing the bookstore owner a favor by letting them sell their book. That doesn't go over real well. The other thing is, if you're doing an author table, which I did at Chapters, you have a table near the door, pile of books, you sitting at the table, and as people come in, I would say, hi, we're got a special on a kind of local history, book you might be interested in. That's it. Some people came over and some people just ignored me. That's okay. But I tried to speak to everybody. And I was told that selling 17 books in 2.5 hours is actually pretty good. I thought it was low, but I guess that's pretty good from what the booksellers tell me. So you got to be friendly and proactive. They tell me some people at authors' tables just sit there and look at their phone. They don't talk to anybody unless somebody comes up. Well, you're not going to sell many books that way. The other thing that I'm doing, and in fact, tomorrow night, I'm doing a 3-hour talk at the Port Credit Yacht Club. And I'll be talking about my book, which is our first video that I did with you, Nancy. I'll be talking about telling your own story, which is the second video that you and I did together. And I'll be talking about how to publish your book, which is this segment. So it'll be about an hour and a half to probably about 25 or 30 people. And I assume I'll sell some books. So what I'm recommending is put together some kind of a narrative. It doesn't have to be what I've done, but talking about your book, talking about the process, people are interested. Go out. Retirement homes are looking for people. Clubs are looking for people. All kinds of various venues are looking for speakers. And if you're at all comfortable speaking, well, go out and talk, and you'll probably sell a few more books. I've not done this yet, but my editor, who also is an author, recommends participating in book fairs. You get a table and you'll be sitting with a bunch of other authors, and people want to buy books, come wandering through, and I'll talk to you. So you'll probably sell a few. The kind of final part of the marketing thing is, I would say, plan on 3 years. I figure it'd take me 3 years to break even. That's putting my personal time at zero. That's just cost. Now it might do better, it might do worse. I don't know. But I would develop kind of a 3-year plan. So my 3-year plan goes, initial contact was last summer. I met a lot of people in the book business. This spring and in the summer, I'll be planning on trying to give as many author talks as I possibly can, because I think that's where people will buy books, and you'll sign them for them. People seem to like the author's signature on a book. And you just keep at it. Keep some stuff on LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever. Keep it slowly going, and you'll probably manage to sell enough books to break even. I was just looking at some stats, and according to the stats that I saw, only 10% of authors sell 10,000 books, which in Canada would be a lot. Most authors sell 1,000 or less. And from what I've been hearing for self-published books, most people sell 300, 400, 500, which also raises a question. If you're dealing with a major publisher, if you can get like a $5,000 or $10,000 advance, that's great, but it's an advance against sales. If you don't sell enough to generate that revenue, you owe them the difference. So don't spend it all at once. You're better off with a small advance and then have the money come in over time as they sell. So I recommend people give it a shot. A lot of people are doing it. It's a good way to meet a lot of people. Book people are nice people. They're fun to talk to. It's kind of fun to talk about the writing process. Sometimes more fun than doing it. Give it a shot.
We'll probably be on the show again. So what would you talk about next time, Richard?
Well, something quite different. I've been working on some ideas about, I think, tough conversations that Canadians need to have.
Good.
And I don't think we've been having them, and I'm not sure how we do have them, but I would like to at least raise the issue about how we might go about having some tough conversations in Tim Hortons, at church, on street corners. I'm not sure where. So
Right. All right. So yeah. All right. Thank you. So Richard will be back probably next month around the same time. Okay.
Sounds good.
So, yeah. So thanks everybody for watching the show. Take care and Peace out, folks.